Pass the damn salt, please. Chapter 21, Crazy Lady on the Bus, Part 3. "Oh, good evening," said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. "Oh, hi, how are you?" said Riley. "Do you mind if I sit here?" said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. She sits. Okay, said Riley. "I have found out some very interesting things since I last saw you," said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. "Oh," said Riley, "did you know that the Jesuits had a worldwide network for centuries that has directed and controlled the flow of information?" said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. "Oh, really?" said Riley. "Oh, yes, that is well known. But did you also know that the first computers were made by a person whose brother was a Jesuit sympathizer? Don't you find that just a little bit interesting?" said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. "Oh, I didn't know that," said Riley. "And you know who invented the internet, don't you?" said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. "You know, I really don't know if the entire internet was invented by only one person," said Riley. "It was invented by the Rand Corporation, and the Rand Corporation is also the worldwide research arm of the Jesuits," said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. "The Rand Corporation in Santa Monica? By the beach? Are they Jesuits? Now that I have never heard," said Riley. "Oh, yes it is, let me tell you. Now you don't think the people who invented the internet would leave all kinds of back doors and Trojan horses so they could get in and change stuff? I tell you, I have been researching this stuff, and it is simply amazing. I have emailed to Google to let them know that someone is in their system, and they have never answered, not once. Don't you find that just a little bit interesting?" said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. "You emailed Google?" said Riley. "Yes, I did. I wrote directly to the president of Google to alert him to the hackers and phishers that are under his site who are stealing and directing all that information, and I sent him some articles I found that talked all about hacking and phishing, and I typed it all out, and it was a 24-page document, and then when I looked for it on my floppy disk, it was gone. Now don't you find that just a little bit interesting?" said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. Actually, I am still trying to process the fact that you wrote to Mr. Google. How did you find his address? Said Riley. Well, I first sent it to president at google.com, but he didn't answer that. So then I tried president and CEO at google.com, but he didn't answer that one either, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. So, what did you do then? Said Riley. Well, I went to the library and they got his name, but they could find no listed email address for him. Now, isn't that interesting? Said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. Well, no, not really. I mean, he would probably get all kinds of email if he were listed. Oh no, he needs to know that his Google has been hacked and phished. And remember, he has never written me back, which means, I think, that he never got them, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. That's one possibility. Yes, said Riley. I have been working with computers for years, and I know all about them, like how easy it is for someone to get in and phish all your information. And I have talked to people too, people who know much more about fish, and the Jesuits, and the Rand, and the Chinese, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. The Chinese? Said Riley. Oh yes, when the white people first went to China, it was the Jesuits. In Macau, they were there for centuries with the Chinese, and they have been very, very close ever since then. Let me tell you, the Chinese are in the forefront of the internet phishing war against this country. Let me tell you, I think I have an internet article about it here, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. No, that's okay. I think I have heard the same thing somewhere, said Riley. And the Chinese are very, very good at keeping their internet very, very secret. They can shut down their internet in an instant, and they know who's on, when, and where by the second. And the Jesuits, they know it all too by the second. The Jesuits paid for their first computers and trained them at Rand. So now they work together. By the second, I tell you, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. Well, the internet can be pretty fast, I guess, said Riley. So I went to the FBI, and they told me the most interesting thing, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Oh, said Riley. Yes, they did. That those hackers can be everywhere, and they are part of the new mafia, and they steal ideas and then make millions and millions off internet identity theft, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Yes, did they have any suggestions for you? Said Riley. Well, yes, they said I should stay off the internet, but I have to use the internet to prove they are phishing me and that they are everywhere and that they're a very, very severe threat to the internet. Very, very severe. But don't you find it just a little bit interesting that the FBI knows that they are out there, but they are doing nothing to stop them, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Oh, said Riley. Yes, most of the police. Well, let me tell you, I was walking down the street and I saw this large black woman wearing a coat that looked a lot like mine. But I knew that my coat that was in my storage facility, and so I went to my storage facility and I found out that my coat had been taken. It was gone. Now, don't you find that very interesting? Said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Someone had taken your coat from your storage facility, said Riley. Yes, my coat and everything in it. Now, on that very same day, the very same day that I discovered my coat was missing, I was hacked into again. Some of my emails were taken right away from me. Whoosh, they were gone, vanished, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. I am sorry to hear about your coat. Did they take anything else? Said Riley. I don't know. I couldn't tell. Ever since they have been after me, I have kept all my stuff in storage facilities. I have several. But as near as I can tell, all they got was the jacket. But it had to have been an inside job, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Oh, said Riley. Yes, an inside job. That is when someone on the inside perpetrates the crime, because there were no signs of forced entry, and I found a cigarette butt right outside my unit, and the manager smokes cigarettes. So it had to have been an inside job, don't you think? Said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. Well, there might be other explanations, said Riley. No, I think it was the perp, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. The perp, said Riley. Yes, the one who perpetrated the crime was in on it because there were no signs of forced entry. Don't you think? Said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. Oh, I know what perp means. You didn't manage to catch the game last night, did you? Said Riley. Why, yes, I did. They are a travesty of a professional basketball team. A travesty, I tell you. The whole five-powered offense makes no sense, and when they traded their only shooting guard, that is when I figured it all out, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. What out? Said Riley. Why they traded him. It's because the team is owned by the Jesuits, and they need to raise money for the Catholic Church by losing all their games and beating the point spread, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. You follow basketball? Said Riley. Oh yes, the five-power forward offense is designed to fail. It's the only explanation that makes sense. Now, who wants certainty in basketball? The gamblers and the Jesuits. Now, since the Catholics now need the money to pay off all their lawsuits and expand their quest to own every mobile home park in every floodplain in America, they need the closest thing to a sure thing to be sure that they have enough money, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. You really follow basketball? Said Riley. Now, by putting in the 5-4 offense, they can pretty much guarantee they will actually lose 80% of their games by more than the point spread, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. You really follow the game of reality-based basketball? Said Riley. Which makes betting on their games the closest thing to a sure thing in this day and age. Let me tell ya, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I guess, said Riley. Now, let me tell you why they would do if they really wanted to actually win a game, said crazy lady with a bunch of stuff. Okay, said Riley. First thing they've got to do is send blank to blank on a sign and trade to give them some breathing room under the salary cap, which is simply crushing them. I beg your pardon, said Riley. You know, a sign and trade, whereby one team signs a player to a contract and trades him to another team, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Oh yeah, that sign and trade. Checking that we're on the same wavelength. Then what? Said Riley. In return, they get a few draft choices and blank, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Well, at least he's a real center, said Riley. That is just the start. Then they take one of the draft choices, like a second or third rounder from next year, and get blank for him and blank, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. You think they could get blank for blank and a third rounder next year? No way! Why would blank do that? Said Riley. Listen, you've got to look at the situation from a different perspective to see what is really there. The fact we have all the power forwards in the league means that a lot of teams need power forwards. In the case of blank, looming free agency for blank, and since we've soaked up all the power forwards in the league, means they really need at least one. So blank will give us a guy who can really shoot the 3-ball. Clearly, I do need to consider things from a different perspective, like you do. Thank you. Go on, said Riley. Then they take their other draft pick, probably a first rounder, and bundle it with blank and get blank and blank from blank, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Now why would they do that? Said Riley. Well, blank has been really unhappy at blank lately. He has been sitting on the bench and he's concerned with his playing time and his calling management, nearsighted dweebs destined to failure, gives us a chance to get him, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. I hadn't heard that one. I should remember it, said Riley. Well, at least that's what they said on the internet. Remember, the NBA is fixed so that everything is carefully orchestrated for a reason, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Okay, well, back to the trade. Is that it? Said Riley. Well, the best part is that at the end of all this, they should have enough money left over to use the Larry Bird on blank, who after all is their only player worth anything, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. The Larry Bird? Said Riley. You know, the Larry Bird exception that allows teams to exceed their salary cap to re-sign their own free agents at an amount up to the maximum salary allowed under the CBA of the NBA, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Collective bargaining agreement, right? Said Riley. Right, so that is how they can really turn this thing around. If that is the direction the league wanted them to go. But since they don't do anything that obvious, that means the games are fixed. Fixed, I tell you, so that no one will ever suspect a thing, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Well, okay then. That is really interesting, said Riley. A newspaper can do more than keep you warm. Let me tell you, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Oh, I don't know, but I suppose it is good to know. Well, here is your stop. This has been, interesting. Have a nice day, said Riley. Oh, yes, here it is. Thank you. You too, said Crazy Lady with a bunch of stuff. Bye-bye, said Riley. End of chapter 21. Pass the damn salt, please, by Dan McLaughlin, and read by Dan McLaughlin.